Because despite what Gavin would have us believe, Frisket is actually a good boy.
Yeah. We don't know the beef he has with dogs, but maybe he's lived in Victoria too long.
User wins. ALPHANUMERIC!
What is up, listeners? You are listening to ALPHANUMERIC, a reboot podcast. I am one of your hosts, NeoCal.
Christopher Siege.
He paused for dramatic effect because we need to make up time because it's just him and I today.
Yeah. Yes, no Aiden this week. He's dealing with a private matter, and we wish him all the best with that.
We are watching The Great Brain Robbery. That almost sounded like a tongue twister for a second. The Great Brain Robbery, which is episode 10. It aired on December 31st, 1994. So if you were a cool kid, your New Year's Eve was spent watching this episode of ReBoot.
Yeah, I don't although I remember 1994 rather well and generally have a pretty good recollection of dates. I don't remember exactly what I was doing on New Year's Eve in 1994, but it was probably watching this episode because I was 9 years old, so what else would I be doing on New Year's Eve?
Yeah, it's not really a kid's holiday, is it?
No.
No,
not at all.
It's like the kids have Christmas and the parents have New Year's.
Or if you're a child born in the beginning of January, like I am, January 3rd.
Oh, that's right. Your birthday's coming up.
Christmas, New Year's, and your birthday are kind of just one big holiday.
Yeah.
So when you're a child and your birthday is 9 days after Christmas, not getting any fucking birthday gifts, bud. Especially if you grew up poor like I did.
Right? It's like, oh, your birthday's near Christmas? You'll just get an extra present on Christmas.
Yeah. We're just going to say all of these gifts are both Christmas and birthday gifts. And it's like, oh, okay. But then and then when you're an adult and you don't get Christmas gifts at all, you get to have fun on New Year's. But then, when you're like me and your birthday is 2 days after New Year's Day, you still don't really get much of a birthday because all of your friends are partied out from New Year's Eve.
They're like, sorry, man. I need a week to recover.
Yeah. Sorry, man. I'm too broke. Sorry, man. I'm like I have like a week-long hangover from New Year's. Sorry, bro.
You need different friends, is what you're saying. I make sure that I'm never broke at any moment, which is not a luxury many can have. So I'm grateful for that.
I'm only just figuring out how to do that at this point in my life, at being almost 36. So
learning your role in the stonk trade. How to maximize stonks. Adult things.
I think I would probably terrorize stonks, honestly.
Indeed.
Cheers.
Oh, geez. I don't even remember what I was talking about. Oh, we have a friend whose birthday is like on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
New Year's Day. New Year's Eve?
I think it might be December 30th.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I feel like they're in the same boat as you, but worse because it's in that like nebulous period between Christmas and New Year's where people are recovering from Christmas and trying to prep themselves for New Year's.
Yeah.
I feel like we didn't spread those holidays out very well. What's crazy to me is some people have New Year's decorations and lights. So they like take down all their Christmas stuff and like put up like New Year's stuff. And it's like, why? For a week? For like 3 days?
Me and my partner, basically, we're both big fans of Christmas. As I'm sure you observed over the years.
It's true. Your name does start with Christ.
Yes, both of our names. We're both big fans of the Christmas season, and her birthday is in mid-November. So, and with mine being in the beginning of January, we basically treat the Christmas season as the days between her birthday and mine.
Nice.
So Christmas is basically like Christmas season is basically almost like 2 months for us.
Okay, so it's a long-lasting festive spirit.
Yeah. Although we haven't
Nice.
decorated yet this year. Should get on that.
At what time is it appropriate to switch from Halloween and to put up Christmas decorations?
November 1st.
And not before, correct?
Yeah.
I have a pretty big pet peeve with people that get ready for Christmas before Halloween.
Like
November 1st is the correct answer. Christopher, you win some friendship points.
Oh, thanks.
No, November 1st is as early as it is because Halloween's done, whatever. Halloween is kind of like the fastest thing dropped all year. Do you know what I mean? Like the 26th, 27th, you can still expect to see Christmas stuff up, like whatever, right? Like it's a festive time, everything's colorful and red and green or silver and blue, whatever. But like what the fuck you doing with pumpkins out on November 2nd, dude? Like get your life together.
Speaking of getting your life together, the great brain robbery.
This is one of those episodes. I feel like child me appreciated it a little bit more. I gotta tell you.
Yeah, so I believe I messaged you earlier as I watched this episode, and I said something along the lines of like, "Oh, so this episode is literally just fucking Fantastic Voyage." Yep, that's what this episode is. But
with less plot.
Less plot, a name that is a play on the title of a classic Western film, The Great Train Robbery, but also has a really fit, sexy ass, redheaded Southern Belle hacker.
See, how you and Aiden feel about Mouse, to me, she kind of just seems like a less responsible Dot. And I don't think there's much difference in the way she's like animated versus like Enzo, besides the way she walks. And for me, when I rewatched this, I'm like, okay, let's see what like Christopher and Aiden are going on and on about like this mouse. I don't see it. Weird, because I'm usually the first to comment on this shit, but I was watching it and I was like, eh.
I have a thing for like fit slashed hack and
fit
slash
slashed apart women.
Jesus Christ. I was gonna say fit slash moderately jacked women. So
so do I. But I mean, like, I don't view her as like jacked or fit in this. She looks like she's built approximately the same as Dot.
she's got visible biceps and abs.
Okay. Well, just I'm holding out for Andrea.
We'll get there. Anyway, so the episode opens with a GameCube.
Yeah,
in some sector of mainframe.
And if anybody is like painstakingly trying to make mainframe out of Legos or like make it in Minecraft, we had like briefly mentioned that before. This opening slow zooms through mainframe, and it's a good opening if you're like looking for like one for one details of like how mainframe is shaped and all the buildings and stuff.
Yeah. And if you're someone who does something like that, you have my respect, because I do not have the patience.
And the attention to detail and being able to like 3D like spatial map what you see. Yeah, kudos.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a pretty detail-oriented person. It's why one of the reasons why I do well at what I do
Hmm.
professionally, but yeah, not on this level. No. So the camera blah 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 blah
Zooms
blah.
over to the Silicon Tour.
Yeah, it zooms past the GameCube, and as mentioned, zooms around through mainframe. We get some nice little establishing shots, and yeah, we're at the Silicon Tour.
Yeah,
Inside the
and
Silicon Tour is old Mega
Breath.
Breath.
Yeah, with his mighty chin. And he's like, "Where is she? With her reputation and her sense of humor." What does he say? I knew I shouldn't have paid her in advance.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I was like, dude, you pay half now and half on upon delivery, or successful
Yeah,
completion of the job.
especially if it's a known like fixer, right?
Yeah,
Like you always pay.
I've watched a lot of crime movies. I know how this stuff works.
Yeah, and Megabyte is like a mafia boss in mainframe. Like,
Yeah,
why the
yeah,
heck would he pay her full wage? That's weird.
yeah.
And who steps out of nowhere? A like purpley pink kind of sprite with like cool arm gauntlet buckles.
Yep, she's wearing some tight black leggings, a white tank top. She's
Her
got
ass is right in the, right in
her
the
ass is right in the
frame.
camera.
I do like long
It's
nails.
a pretty shapely
It's a
derriere.
shapely 3D derriere. Yeah.
Yeah, she's got, as I mentioned, she's got some biceps and some abs, and her hair is really cool.
She's
It
cool, yeah.
yeah, she's got like glowing red hair, but it has this texture of like white noise in it.
It's like busy. Yeah, it's kind of like the static of a channel that you don't receive. But it's
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
orange, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a redhead. With what color is that? I am not great with like colors. It's not pink, it's not purple, it's what do you call that?
Fuchsia?
Is that what it is? Men trying to discuss color. Fuchsia? Yeah. He's
I'm gonna.
Googling fuchsia right now.
I am. Yeah. I don't even know how to spell it.
Ugh.
Fuchsia.
Men actually do see in a much shorter spectrum than women can see in. That's like scientifically like proven.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Haha. Oh, wait. Is it? Yes, it is. It's fuchsia.
Hooray!
I'm going to post an image of it.
Can you see her abs through her like tank top? Oh,
Yep.
you can. She likes tight clothes. I understand that. Wait a second, is she more jacked than Bob? I didn't realize how like fit she was.
So I just posted.
Bob's got some sort of. He's got like an armor thing, but I assume he's got some abs going. But I think her arms are bigger than Bob's.
Yeah.
I need to pay attention to this episode because if she's got bigger pythons than Bob, I'm impressed. Well, Bob like works on his car and like zips over to games and like is heralded as a hero.
Impressed is the word that we're using to describe it. I'm actually I'm a lot thirstier for Mouse after watching this episode than I thought I would be.
I don't know. You and Aiden were pretty thirsty for this episode. So she has an icon, but it's on her belt, and it's different, or is it?
It is a triangle. It is not a circle. It is a triangle
With a square, like a diamond in the middle.
Yeah,
and it's not like two-tone like other people's are. It's just white.
Yeah.
What the heck? Huh.
It's a small detail, but it's something that will probably come up later in the series.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm
Yeah.
glad I noticed why it was different.
Yeah.
I like her arm, why it was different.
Yeah.
I like her arm, like it's just for show. Like there's no like purpose to her arm. Like, what are they called? Vambrace or whatever. Um, her like forearm like armor buckles. They're just cool. She's kind of got like a man. So anyway, sorry. Moving onwards, as she's all like, "Oh, hey,
She is
sugar,
definite.
I kept you waiting."
She is most definitely fuchsia, by the way.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
We learned a color today, everyone. So as she walks past Mega Breath, she's like, "Oh, hold your horses." And he's like, "Well, how did you get in here?" And she's like, "Oh, I have my ways." And she walks past him, and
Swaying her hips back and forth, and like it's supposed to be sexy, and like I'm into this character, but like the way, like it's
they don't know
really
how to animate people yet.
they don't, and it actually looks more hilarious than sexy. But yeah, she walks in this like really like exaggerated, like swaying her hips back and forth fashion as she walks past Megabyte. And as she walks past Megabyte actually like leans over and visibly checks her out.
Yeah, he's in his hover chair, and he like leans over, and his eyes like open wide, and he like shamelessly like ogles her. And I'm like, huh. Okay.
Huh. Show for 6-year-olds.
Right?
I'm
His eyes completely wide is a good screenshot.
I'm probably gonna make that the show art.
Oh, his eyes bulging out of his head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh wow, they really do bulge out of his head. And he wipes his mouth, and he's like, I see.
Indeed.
Indeed. And much like Aiden and Christopher, he wipes his mouth. And she like puts her hands on Hack and Slash's shoulder, Hack and or Slash.
Yeah.
And she like does a somersault, like flip, like acrobatic move over them and into this like yellow hover tank looking thing.
Yeah, it's
And
the
Hack and
same
Slash.
it's the same hover tanks that we've seen many times so far, but we've never seen a yellow one before.
Oh, is it actually the same? I thought it was a different craft.
I think like I think it's basically the same model that they've just added a few things to. But the basic the basic form of it is the same.
It's a hover tank painted yellow.
Yep.
And Hack and Slash are like, "Whoa, pretty lady touched me. She touched me first." Or something thirsty like that.
Yeah, something like that. And
Megabyte's like, "What a charming young lady."
And yeah, he tells them that she's in charge, but if she double crosses them, fuck her up.
Fuck her up, yeah. And they're like, "You bet." Great one, boss. And I feel like I'm like, well, like she's like 20 feet away. And then it shows a vid window pop up with her inside of this craft, this like hover tank thing, and the back door's open. And I'm like, Megabyte, your voice carries, dude. For somebody who also has a deep voice, like when you're trying to be quiet, you're still not quiet. Like people can hear you across the room. But I feel like Mouse likes to be in control of most things, so she knows the deal, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and she calls him big guy, and
she's all like, "This is a great piece of hardware you got here. It's real big and fast,
and muscular and veiny."
Oh man. Yeah. So yeah, he's all like, "Yeah, this is the best piece of equipment I've got, sister.
That money can afford, babe." And then he says something. The compression field, however, is quite unstable. You must be careful in there, and she's like, yeah, unpleasant accidents and all that. I read the owner's manual. Can we go already? And I'm like, no, tell me, viewer, wants to know. But remember, it's better to show, not tell. And that's what the show actually does.
Yeah, that's what they tell you in like
They
first
try.
year screenwriting.
Which
It's
then everyone inevitably doesn't understand and fails to do anyway.
well, and it's also not. It's great advice for. It's good advice for like first year students. It is definitely not gospel, however.
You can definitely tell in like TV shows and movies though when they're not listening to that.
Yeah, and
And games to some
it's more.
extent.
Yeah, it's the point is that like it's more of a guide. Like it's good for people when they're first like starting out writing screenplays and teleplays, but
And to catch yourself.
it is most definitely not like gospel. It's more of a guideline because there are times where you can tell as opposed to showing, and that can be effective depending on the type of story you're writing.
Yeah, look at Tarantino's entire career.
Right?
His movies are about people talking and telling you what happened.
Yeah. Or Kevin Smith's movies.
Oh, that's a good point. The entirety of his movies are basically people sitting around like talking. Yeah,
Yeah.
telling.
And the dude made Clerks, which is one of the quintessential 90s films.
Yeah. I feel like Clerks 2 had no like had no like reason to be that good. Like I feel like it
Clerks
was
2 is really,
substantially
really good.
Yeah, I was very surprised. I was like, "Oh man, here we go. Why are they making a second one?" But
I think
I love it.
I think all around Clerks 2 is I won't hang on this for too long so we can get back to the episode, but I feel like Clerks 2 is probably Kevin Smith's all around best film.
Yeah,
It
actually, I'm comfortable saying that too. It's pretty great.
it takes like all of the best elements of all of his previous films and like
Yes.
it cherry picks the best out of his entire filmography and puts them together in a really effective manner. And I don't think he's made a better movie since.
Yeah, actually, completely agree. That's one of my favorite like comedies. And I
I
actually don't feel I feel like anybody could watch it. Like I don't feel like you need to be a Kevin Smith fan to like that movie.
That was one of the things with his latest film, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, which I did actually like quite a bit. But I when I was explaining it to someone, I said, I'm like, picture this scenario. So imagine you're, you know, sitting around with a bunch of your buddies, like drinking beer and like just reminiscing about like all the good times you had like 15 years ago. And it's like,
Yeah.
you're having a great time. Woo! Now, so like if you're one of those guys, then like you're gonna have a great time in that scenario.
Oh
But
yeah.
if you're, say, a like 20-year-old hanging out with like your dad and his buddies as they do that,
Wow, that's a really good analogy.
then you're probably not gonna have that great of a time with it. So like with that movie, like your level of enjoyment depends entirely on having a pre-existing relationship with Kevin Smith's films and characters.
That's probably the best summary for more than one of his movies, but particularly that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't it weird that like he created Do you know what I mean? Like Tarantino's films, some people say they are all in the same universe, but like for most part they're all standalone, right?
Yeah.
But like Kevin Smith has like the Kevin Smith universe, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the
The
more you
Viewist
watch
universe,
his
it's called.
movies, yeah, what do they call it?
The Viewist universe.
Oh, see, I'm not familiar enough to have known that. And I feel like that's kind of a feat. Do you know what I mean? Like that's quite an accomplishment to
Yeah,
have this
he
self-referencing humor in your own movies that works so well because people that watch your movies are there to for exactly that. It's
he has the original cinematic universe. Shared cinematic universe.
the Kevin Smith cinematic universe.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
He was doing it like 15 years before Marvel was.
I don't even know how we started talking about this.
I don't know, but let's get back to ReBoot.
Yeah.
So,
it's not like anybody listening to this is going to be like 21, right?
fair,
Well, hey, if you're young out there, come and visit us on like Facebook and be like, actually, I was born like years after this and I love it. Let us know, because we're just assuming everybody's like 35 that's listening to this.
I'm sure there's at least one. Probably not many more than that, but
I ran into a cashier, and she's like, "Oh, what's your shirt from?" I forgot to mention this. And I was wearing the Too Much Energon shirt, and the thing is, it's very catchy. Like it's colorful. It's got Christopher and I as like characters on the front of it. It's kind of a good conversational piece. And what makes it too is, even though it does have text on the top, the picture is kind of like what's painting the message, right?
Yeah.
And it has Christopher riding Rhinox and me on a speaking of Clerks, and me on a terror board, but it's kind of cartoonized in a style similar to the Clerks cartoon.
Yeah.
And it works. Really sharp line work, and kudos to the artist. And she's like, "Oh, what's that for?" And I kind of say, very loosely, I don't like hyper nerd out and start talking about it. I'm just like, "Oh, well, it's some art that my friend did for our podcast. It's called like, Too Much Energon, and it's one of the podcasts where we talk about a certain like 90s cartoon. This one being Beast Wars. And we have another one that we talk about, like ReBoot, and that caught her like attention. And she's like, "Oh, I used to watch ReBoot when I was like young, but it was like already over when I was like old enough to like start watching it, so I had to find it online." And I'm like, "Hey, come and like listen to it." And she actually like wrote down what it was called. Has an easy enough to remember name, and I was like, "There you go. There's like a 19-year-old that was kind of interested." So even though she had never even heard of Beast Wars, I just kind of like gave her a very quick little spiel of both of the shows. Anyone listening to this that doesn't know, we have a Beast Wars podcast, by the way.
Well,
which we only plug once or twice every podcast. So,
Cashier Girl, if you're listening to this, shout out to you.
Yeah. And if you're not, I knew it.
So a satellite dish comes down and shoots a green laser at the yellow hover tank, the taxi tank, if you will.
Crazy taxi.
Okay, I'm gonna refer to it as the taxi tank from now on.
it's a taxi tank. It doesn't have weapons, so might as well be, right?
Yeah. So it shoots this green laser at the taxi tank and shrinks it down.
Holy shit.
And then Megabyte takes a literal turkey baster.
It is.
It is a fucking turkey
baster, yeah.
And sucks the shrunken taxi tank into it, and then laughs to himself and is all like, "Oh yes." Oh wait, wrong mega dude. Anyway,
mega dump.
Wrong mega dump.
He reaches through one of those remote windows, remember?
Oh yeah. That
from like episode 1 or 2, the one stupid one where he gives Enzo a package.
Oh yeah, the stupid like explosive mask episode.
Yeah, and remember we were like, wait, why doesn't he just make a remote window into hexadecimal space?
Yeah.
But I guess you and I had discussed it. Someone has to receive it, like openly receive it.
Yeah.
And Sergeant Smiley, he receives the turkey baster. There's a vid window up with a very happy looking viral binome.
Interesting to note that this is technology we've only ever seen Megabyte and his cronies use.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's just something he can do now.
Yeah.
Good point. It's like a viral thing. And it's only ever been him activating it.
Yeah.
And
he's all like, here's the dropper. You know what to do.
You know what to do. And he winks. And
Uh,
Sergeant Smiley on the other side is like, "It's a pleasure, sir."
yep.
And yep, he yells at him, and the game is finished, and it says "Game over."
Yeah.
And Binomes are cheering, and Bob is there, and he's beside his car for some reason.
And it's our old pal Took guy. This
Oh
this
yeah, Took guy's there. Oh,
Took
so is
guy.
Top Hat guy.
I think Took guy is my favorite extra in this show at this point.
He's just happy to be around, you know?
Yeah, at this point, like anytime I see him in an episode, I'm always like, hey, it's Took guy.
Yeah. A Binome I never noticed, but definitely notice every time now.
Now,
Oh, I'm
yeah.
just happy to be along for the ride, eh?
There's a behind Bob. There is a vending machine that has zip boards in it,
Is that what that is?
and it even has the letter Z or Z for all you American listeners, which are most of our listeners.
So it's a vending machine where people can like purchase zip boards.
Yeah.
That's some future tech shit right there. Oh, it must be a vending machine from Japan.
The future tech of AD 1994.
The future is now. Bow, 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 bow.
My favorite
1994.
My favorite tagline for anything in the history of ever is Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon.
I knew this was coming. Go ahead.
And the tagline for okay, so this game came out in 2013 and the tagline was the year is 2007. It is the future. Ellipsis.
What was it? The second Vietnam War. Right.
Yeah, the Vietnam War 2 in like the year 2000 like completely destroyed the world. And like America annexed Canada.
You know what's funny? That is like the third or fourth, like, kind of like dystopian cyberpunk or like retro punk future or retro dystopian future where like Canada like inevitably always becomes annexed by America once the world starts crumbling. Fallout does that. That's like established like lore in like the Fallout verse. Is that
Yeah,
Canada just like completely got annexed by the US as soon as shit started going down.
It'll probably happen.
Oh yeah.
Realistically. We are
And there
free.
won't be any reason to fight it either, because Canadians don't see the point in like what would we be holding on to? There's not a lot of patriotism in this country.
No, not really. There's dubious patriotism in this country. And what I mean by that is people being like, oh yeah, Canada, my Tim Hortons and Maple Leafs, eh? Like
fucking Trailer Park Boys, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's oh yeah, those them stupid Americans, eh? There's that kind of like yay Canada patriotism, but it's pretty dubious because it's meaningless.
So back in my university days before I dropped out, and sometime before
I dropped out too, so
it wasn't until years later looking back and analyzing everything, I was like, huh, I did not know that I was depressed during college. Good times. Not really.
No.
But one of the things I did when I was gung ho was do polls for psychology and for sociology and poli sci and all that bullshit, right?
Yeah.
And one I did was in a single sentence, what differentiates Canadians? Like, how do you identify as Canadian? And honestly, like something like 80 to 90% said that we're not Americans.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But it's like, what does that even mean?
Not being something as part of your identity feels really weak to me.
Well, yeah, because like it's kind of a non-answer too, because it's like, well, like what does that even mean? Really?
Yeah.
It's like
that kind of goes to show that like it's weird. America thinks they're like the best country in the world, and they like shoot their guns and yell like "Yeehaw!" and like, you know, they love their freedoms and stuff. And then for Canadians to be like, "Oh, well, we're not like dumb Americans." I feel like that's a lot weaker of a type of like patriotism. Like at least Americans know who they are and they're proud of who they are. And to deny that they are like economically speaking one of the most like successful, that's not the right word, but one of the better countries to live in, you can't deny that. You can't deny that it has
No,
a
not
very
at all.
rich history on the world stage, right? You can't deny that it has very iconic historical significance and like monuments. And it's interesting that all Canadians kind of harbor this kind of like very low key, like low energy, like lazy type of resentment towards towards our southern neighbors. Not real resentment. Like we don't actually dislike them. It's like kind of
No.
like how when they say, "Oh, you're from Canada today, eh? Oh, you live in igloos and you like maple syrup, eh?" It's like that. It's that low level, like the way you kind of like take a jab at a neighbor. Oh, haha,
Yeah,
nice
yeah.
Monopoly money up there.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Why are we even talking about this? We're talking about ReBoot.
We are talking about ReBoot. Let's get back to it.
Jesus.
So Dot shows up and is all like, "Hey Bob, have you seen Enzo? I lost sight of him when the GameCube hit, and oh shit, Enzo charges right into Bob." And she's all like, "Oh, never mind."
Now we get a back shot of
Oh,
Dot's butt. A
yeah.
lot less shapely, I must say.
Yeah,
I take back what I said before. They're not comparable.
not she's not wearing them sweet
She's not wearing yoga pants. That's true. Maybe if she was wearing yoga pants.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, she's wearing her like beige pantsuit
With like the weird like corduroy like detailing on the sides.
and shoulder pads.
That's how you know that she's presenting a powerful silhouette.
Yeah, that's how you know that she's a serious businesswoman. Is because of them fucking shoulder pads.
Well, we always see Jake naked, jacked, like Megabyte. I'm trying to get a look at Bob here. But anyway, speaking of Megabyte, he like opens a vid window and there's like a spy versus spy like binom hanging out. He's literally holding like a camera, I think. Binoculars or something.
Binoculars, yeah, and he's wearing a trench coat and a fedora, and it's playing this like little like kind of spy like mysterious music, and I actually really dig it.
Yeah, I like it too. Oh, I just realized his binoculars on his end go into one single like lens because he has one eye.
Yeah,
he's a one binom.
One thing I'm gonna point out too is like I've been pretty hard on this show so far.
Yeah,
throughout
me
this
too.
Podcast. I actually really like the music. I think the music in
the
this
sound
series
design
is
is
really
actually
good.
great.
Yeah, like I like this little spy music a lot. I really like Captain Capacitor's theme from the Crimson Binome. Back in the episode The Tiff, during Bob's like drunken boredom montage with Mike the
clock.
TV.
Like talk, tick,
yeah,
talk, yeah.
Yeah, I actually used that as like transition music during the episode of the Crimson Binome, where I
I remember that.
Yeah, I gave a little PSA talking about the technical issues we had, and I put that music in behind it to kind of
like that
to meld them together, the two recording sessions together.
Yeah, so the music for the show really well done, and the sound effects for the show, like just the sound design in of itself is like so clean and impactful. Like we actually we should give props to the sound design and the composers, and they're still called composers, right? Even if it's synthesized.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's great. Good job, guys.
Yeah.
Good job, people that made this show 26 years ago. We applaud you.
Yeah, good job, sound guys.
Voice acting, everything to do with sound is, man, you know what? No, like the 3D design, the sound, the voice acting, like the show is pretty phenomenal. We can make fun of individual episodes, but what each episode, even a bad one, what each episode accomplishes is pretty amazing.
Yeah, the only thing that I will really criticize about this show is the writing and how inconsistent it is.
Yeah. 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 Especially after we just watched we did Too Much Energon and we were like blown away by the writing quality of the dialogue.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah. The monkeys are restless and my dog has fleas. Over. And the funny thing is all of the viral informants for Megabyte, they all use this code.
Yeah.
But like it's frustrating to Megabyte because like he's not in on it. And he gets angry about it. And it's like, oh man, let them be spies.
I actually really like that kind of over the top, like sitcom-y, like pseudo spy coded dialogue that you would see in a lot of old shows, like in MASH is the one that I'm thinking of immediately. When the character Colonel Flag shows up periodically throughout the series.
Oh yeah.
Colonel Flag, hilarious character. But he's this kind of like this really like stoic but kind of kind of dude who thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, but he's actually quite very much an
He's
idiot.
The joke.
Yeah. But yeah, he always talks in this like kind of spy like coded manner. And I remember in one episode he gets Radar to send a telegram, and I think he says something along the lines of Mary had a little lamb. Stop. My dog has fleas. Stop. Maresy dotes and dozy dotes. And I'll be home for Christmas. Signed, your loving son, Queen Victoria.
There's an example of a show without much. The writing completely made it.
The writing and the performances, yeah.
Or the actor, yeah.
Yeah. Because it's not, it's not a particularly like
high production.
I mean, props to the art department and the set designers, because like
they pull it off, yeah.
Yeah, it looks convincing for what it is, but like on a technical level, that show isn't impressive, really. In any way,
it doesn't need to be. So
no,
what
it
needs
doesn't
to fall back on is the actors and the writing. Much like this show. Wait a second. But it is quite a spectacle to behold.
Yeah.
You know what? We were talking about ray tracing and like the metallic surfaces, and you can definitely see them experimenting with that on ReBoot.
Yeah.
And it really it really starts to shine in Beast Wars, I find.
Yeah, I was actually thinking earlier when I was watching this, I'm like, the lighting is kind of interesting. The lighting effects in this episode are kind of interesting.
Yeah, you can see them messing around with it. Unfortunately, Beast Wars doesn't have a big, vibrant, like world to show it off. It's kind of like, for the most part, a drab, like big brown landscape, or a giant green fuzzy JPEG stretched out to look like a jungle in the distance.
Yeah, or it's, a snow biome. Damn it, I screwed up the joke.
What?
Oh well.
You screwed up the joke. It would have been a hilarious joke. Let me take a minute or two to explain that,
why it was so funny.
Why it was so funny.
Oh man. Speaking of funny, Megabyte is now talking to another spy binome.
This guy. This one's a zero binome. And he's
Yeah.
wearing like a Groucho Marx. Not quite. Sort of.
Yeah, one of those Groucho Marx disguises, like with
The
the
big fake
glasses
nose and the round glasses.
and the fake mustache.
If you can't stand the heat, go to the dentist and get it fixed. Over. And Megabyte like taps a button on his like hover chair, and his vid window glows white, and you hear screaming. So presumably, what is that telling us? Like, obviously he shocked him, right? But
Yeah.
how?
Sorcery.
Viral sorcery.
Yep. It's the only possible explanation.
And poor Groucho Bynum like fixes his fedora and his Groucho Marx get up, and he's like, they're on their way to level 31, sir.
Yep. And so
And he contacts Smiley again. And Mega Dump is like, Smiley, they're on their way. I love Smiley.
And so we cut to Al's diner, and our heroes sit down at a table, and Al's waiter is all like, so Bob, what'll it be? And he orders one quantum shake.
Yep.
I'm gonna bring up in just a moment why I think that's funny, but we're not quite there yet.
Oh, okay.
And so
They let dogs in this place? Puh.
Yeah, you'd think it was Victoria or something.
Okay. Here's the thing. People in Victoria get so defensive and like whiny about like dogs, and they think dogs should be allowed everywhere, and dogs
Yeah.
should have the same rights as people. There are people allergic to dogs, and they don't want like animal dander like floating around in the room, landing in their food.
Yeah, for the listeners, me and Cal live in Victoria, British Columbia, and at some point in the past several years, like people just started, I don't know when this happened, but people just started like taking their dogs into like shopping malls and stores and stuff. Like throughout my entire life, it's always been a thing like, oh, only service dogs are allowed. And that's understandable. But at some point, like within the past like 5 or 6 years or whenever, like people just started bringing their dogs into stores and no one did anything about it. But then a couple of years ago, I think it was like last year or the year before, if you're listening to this like in the far off future, in like 2018 or 2019, somewhere around there, the city banned dogs from shopping malls and stores and like big box stores and whatnot.
Which is weird because why would they need to say that? Weren't they not allowed in there anyway?
Yeah, that
was
make
a point of banning it.
That was my thought too. But so many people threw such a fucking tiff over this.
Yes.
And like even now, like I work in a store, even now, like people will still try and just bring their dogs into the store. And it's like, no, you can't do
fresh
that.
Produce and meats and people with allergies like everywhere. Like,
yeah, it's this really weird phenomenon that like I'm like, how did this even become a thing? Like, what is this fucking city that we live in?
So, we are at Al's Diner. Bob just ordered the Quantum Shake. And do we have a name for the guy behind the counter? Or is he just like the Al's?
He's just Al's waiter.
Waiter, yeah.
Yeah, I think we talked about that on a previous episode.
We did, yeah. We never learned his name.
Yeah, it's on I ended up looking on the ReBoot wiki afterward, and he is actually just credited as
Al's waiter.
Al's waiter. Fun fact, though, he's voiced by Gary Chalk, the voice of Optimus Primal, and either Hack or Slash, whichever one is which.
Oh, he does not sound like those characters. Huh, good for him.
Yeah.
And the waiter yells, Al, Quantum Shake, or something like that. And no, he just yells Al, and then before he can even say the order, I think Smiley, that little viral by gnomes, he's like, coming right up, in like an Al's voice.
Yeah.
And the waiter's like, "Oh, Al's quick today." And he goes to turn to look at him, and the Smiley like lowers his face, and it shows some viral binomes in the back where the kitchen is, and they have Al tied up like with a rope completely, so all we can see is his face. But we can assume that he's a one binome given the shape of him. He's very like rectangular, and he's the same height as the two one binomes holding tying him up.
It's funny. It's funny that he's tied up completely to the point that we can't see anything but like his legs, because like it keeps the joke of never seeing what Al looks like going.
Like Tim the Toolman, Taylor's
Neighbor,
neighbor,
Wilson.
You only ever see his eyes.
I think you see his full face in the final episode. That's what I've heard. I don't know. I've never actually seen it, but
those urban myths.
Maybe.
And it shows Smiley deviously like dropping with the turkey baster, a single drop into the quantum shake.
Yeah.
And he drops it in like one of those like pressurized tubes that were famous in like office buildings in like, what was that, the 70s or 80s?
Yeah.
In a slow food place, yeah. And the waiter walks over and he goes to give it to Bob, but Frisket is there, and he sniffs the air and he growls like he instinctually knows there's something wrong with the shake.
Yeah. So I found the quantum thing funny because that is what they drop the shrunken down ship into. So it's like this. The ship is the taxi tank is shrunk down to a like subatomic size and dropped into a shake called a quantum shake.
So it's just a play on it being small.
Exactly, yeah.
Doesn't Enzo like be like, "Hey, can I get a sip?"
Yep.
Yeah, that's how this whole thing happens. And
yeah,
he drinks it in.
First sip too. Like that's weird. It's not your drink, bud.
Yeah, when you're mooching off someone else, you get the last sip.
Yeah.
We're mid sip. And he's like, pure energy. And it shows the what was it? The taxi tank, the hover taxi.
Yeah, the taxi tank.
Go tumbling into presumably his tum-tum.
Which
but it hovers.
This looks really weird because like
kind of gross and wet.
Well, it's the inside of Enzo's mouth is completely black, but you see his teeth that are kind of just like they're floating there in non-existent space.
Kind of weird.
Yeah. It's like something out of an Ubisoft game.
Skull face. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, sometimes, face doesn't render and you're just left with horrifying teeth and eyeballs. The inside of him is like a wet green, like tech. I don't really know how to describe it, but a cross between like xenomorph and like a biotech kind of. I don't. Do you know what I mean? Like it's all like kind of circuitry, but it's all smooth and green and wet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's evocative of something, but I can't quite place what it is.
Yeah, that's how I'm feeling too. I just noticed that Mouse has. I don't really know what it is. Almost like scarification or tattoos or something around her eyes and forehead. Do you know what I mean? Like that design and on her shoulder.
Yeah, I was just gonna say she has one on her shoulder as well. Yeah, it looks like branding or scarification.
It's some sort, like design or something. Almost like a mask, but it doesn't close over the bridge of her nose.
I mean, I'm telling you, if you wanted to turn down Mouse's hotness factor to me, that's not the way to do it.
How about the blue lipstick?
Nope.
How about the small samurai like wakizashi in her boot? I just noticed that.
That I could go. I could take or leave.
The swords don't do it for you. Well, that makes one of us.
No,
And
I'm more into S words personally.
S words, so sharks.
Sheba. It's begun with a bloody S.
So for some reason they end up in Enzo's, presumably his brain.
Yep.
And yeah, gonna jump into the brain here. There's some banter between Mouse and
The
Mega
brain,
Breath.
the brainscape looks pretty cool.
It is. This is some Lawnmower Man like shit going on here. Like there's all these neurons everywhere, and Megabyte gets like super excited about it. He's like, "There it is!" And I guess this is when he reveals what's going on. He wants supercomputer like network codes or
Yeah.
access codes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why he did this whole thing. And he says not to mention the additional bonus of making Bob his own personal servant. So presumably, not only will he get what's the information inside of Bob's brain, he can control him after this.
Oh yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess I just realized that up until this point, the episode hasn't even really explained what the fuck the point of all of this is.
No, it just explained his motivation like right now.
Or like what what Mouse was even doing beyond shrinking down, going on a fantastic voyage.
Fantastic it is.
Slide,
And the
slide, slippity slide.
the hover tank like taxi drops a beacon or some sort of equipment onto Enzo's brain, and it's all kind of like circuit. So it's like half biological, half like mechanical, half technological.
Techno-organic, if you will.
Techno-organic, yeah. And then the back of the taxi opens up and Hack and Slash are there. And they immediately fall into a divot with like a neuron like passing info.
Yeah.
And she's like, quit fucking around. You guys fuck around too much. And they do. And they're like, sorry, ma'am.
Yeah,
Will
because
you
they're
punish us?
yeah, they look like they're bouncing on a trampoline together. And
Yeah,
then
that's like one of Enzo's nodes.
yeah, which causes Enzo to like freak the fuck out and do some like weird ass maneuvers.
Some Michael Jackson like dances on the counter.
Yep.
And Bob and Dot are kind of like looking on in shock, and they're like, Enzo, stop that.
And he's
And
all
he's
like,
I can't help it. My body's moving on its own.
it's kind of
And then-
cool.
It's kind of cool. And then he kind of goes, and like phases out. He goes almost in stasis lock, if you will. And he just kind of like goes rigid and falls off, like the table. And yeah. His sister doesn't like it. And so they take him to go see Fong.
Yeah, and Fong is all like, oh, very strange indeed. It reminds me of this one time. And they're like, dude, can you just do some tests on him? Like, spare the wise old man bullshit for once.
Right?
And he's like, oh, right. Wise idea, my son.
Yeah.
So he opens up his little stomach cabinet and pulls out a Star Trek phase pistol.
Well, yeah, basically.
What it looks like. It looks like a phaser from the original series. And he
A
sticks it into
multi-tool.
Enzo's ear, and apparently it allows him to see into
His fucking brain.
into his fucking brain.
Like right into his brain, like nanometers, nano cycles of, I'm not even sure what the word, but like apparently it also like enhances things to like a molecular scale or like atomic scale, because this thing, not only does it go right into his head, it zooms in and goes right up to Hack and Slash, like near this weird generator looking thing.
So we
presumably that's the device to control the brain.
So we wondered, what was it, the last episode, Enzo the Smart?
Uh-huh.
That was the last one? I don't know. No, it wasn't. It was the one before that. We wonder just how fucking stupid Enzo actually is if, like, the entire town of Mainframe being half as intelligent as him are, like, practically non-functional as beings.
Right.
Well, so the implication here is that Enzo has a pretty hollow head.
Oh yeah,
Doesn't
because
have much up there.
there's a lot of room from where presumably they're on the surface of his brain.
Yeah.
But there's like, in the terms in relation to hack and slash and mouse, there's like hundreds and hundreds of feet before the ceiling of where his head is.
Yeah.
Like it's mostly empty space.
Yeah. So we have our answer. Enzo is really fucking stupid.
Yep. And yes, Fong kind of gasps and pulls the device out.
Oh, hack and or slash say, "Hey, that's invading our privacy,"
Oh,
which made me laugh.
As they're invading like Enzo's brain.
Yeah.
Cunts. And then yeah, Fong whips the device out of Enzo's brain, and he's like, and Bob and Dot are like, what? And he's like, I just saw hack and slash.
My cat is meowing and clawing at the window, so I'm gonna go let him in. Just keep talking.
Yeah. Hack and slash, ladies and gentlemen, are inside of his brain. It didn't appear that Fong saw Mouse, so it's kind of like keeping that as a surprise. Uh-oh. Well, while Christopher's getting his cat, my partner is using the microwave, and that makes my headset crackle and break up. So, gotta wait for a second. There we go. Yep. All right, and I'm back.
Me too.
Yeah. So Fong says, hack and slash are inside Enzo's head.
Dun,
And they're just kind of like, what? I like how he doesn't see Mouse because that still wants to be left as a surprise.
Yeah. Because it has been established that Bob knows Mouse. She was we learned about that a few episodes ago. And they're all like,
well, we got to do something and get him out of there. And Bob's like, do you have a data compression command? And he says, Fong says, no, but I've got an old BPEG.
Whatever that is.
It's an older.
Is it like an MPEG, but older?
Anybody listening can correct me, but I think that's kind of just made up for the show. I Googled it earlier, like yesterday.
Oh, okay.
And couldn't find anything. And I Googled it alongside ReBoot, and it just kind of described it as being literally the old, like a less efficient version of a data compression format.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, that's what he says on the show. And Bob's like, okay, I'm going in.
Yeah, and Enzo is all like, oh, so Bob's going to shrink down and go inside my head and battle hack and slash? And Dot's like, yeah. And he's like, cool.
Rad.
And she's all like, I'm going in too. And Enzo's like, no, please, I need someone to stay with me. And she's like, oh, all right, fucking kid.
See, that doesn't make sense to me because it's like, well, I mean, Bob will be more likely successful if they both go in, and technically she will be there with you. Also, why does he want somebody to hold his hand?
I don't know, maybe.
Do you know what I mean? Like, that's weird. I think that's just a device to get Bob in there alone.
Could be. But I mean, like, in the chance that they fail and Enzo dies, he's going to die alone. Whereas if Dot stays, at least he's going to die with his sister at his side.
Well, if you want to put it that way.
So inside Enzo's head, Mouse is all like, deploying neural matrix scrambler. which is
Oh.
some dumb like techno babble, but I find it kind
Yeah.
of funny because Enzo's surname is Matrix.
Yeah, and Dot and Enzo's surname is Matrix.
Yeah.
But she thinks she's in Bob.
Yeah.
So
So the taxi tank, which looks different
ew,
now.
gross. No, that's the device it dropped.
Oh, okay.
Right, it was towing a device, and this is the thing used to like dig for information and control the brain. Hack and Slash were kind of like setting it up earlier.
Okay. Oh
Ew,
yeah.
it's got like tendrils. Ew.
Yeah. So some hoses come out of it, 4 on either side, that kind of look like spider legs come out and attach into Enzo's brain matter
Uh-huh.
and start sucking juice.
Start sucking juice. And Megabyte's like, at last, the sequence is complete. And I'm like, how is he vid windowing? Or is he just talking to them like over radio? Yeah, maybe he just has some connection to the hover taxi. And he's kind of got a big vid window in front of him with like the schematic, a loose schematic of how like Bob's body is laid out, and
Yeah. And he's all like, at last, access to the supercomputer. And he presses some buttons, and we hear Enzo's voice being like, all right, guys, remember, the password is belly button and no girls allowed.
yeah, and I love that. And Megabyte's like, belly button, no girls allowed.
What the fuck is this?
The fuck?
That sounded like a child.
I like how clueless he is right there. Like, I mean, who else could possibly sound like that? And then you hear Enzo again. Presumably, these are like the memories of Enzo in voice format coming through.
Yeah.
On Mega Breath's vid window, and you hear Enzo again say, "I'm sorry, Mrs. Dithers, my dog ain't my homework."
Yeah.
Slingshot? What slingshot? And his face is like morphing and bouncing around.
Yeah, it looks really weird.
Yeah, painful. Basic, I know you are, but what am I?
And so Bob is in this, like, I don't know, like, hover bike thing. I don't know. Yeah, he's in this, like, little craft, and he gets shrunk down, and
It's kind of like a shittier Tron bike.
yeah, but it's not exactly like it's not exactly a motorcycle, because he lies down in it, like on his stomach, and it has a dome that goes over, and it doesn't have wheels. I guess nothing in the show has wheels, but
like the Tron bikes, the Tron bikes, you kind of like lay down and like go forward, right? And a lot of like super bikes are kind of like that.
yeah.
But regardless, it's kind of like a weird, like, almost reminds me of like the loader exoskeleton in Aliens, but like
Yeah.
in a little bike form.
Yeah, yeah.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
Which, you know, we've actually seen one of those in this show, so
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I am sending you my favorite screenshot for the episode.
All right.
There you are, good sir.
I may very well make that the show art.
Yeah, it's at I had to rewind pause it just to get like perfect on that. It's at approximately like 12 minutes and 6 seconds. I don't know why I find that so funny. Oh, I love that. His fucking face.
Yeah, listeners, I'm gonna make that the show art. So what we're laughing about is the art that you'll be seeing attached to this episode if you're listening to it on something like, say, Spotify. Yeah, so Megabyte's all like, go to a mirror or something. And so Enzo picks up a mirror.
Oh, because he's in control of him now. Yeah.
Yeah. He picks up a mirror and Megabyte's like, God damn it, you fools. You're in the wrong body.
Yeah. You're in the boy. I love
Something
that.
of that ilk.
Yeah. Yeah, so he ain't happy.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, so Bob's in that weird
wow,
shitty
wow, Enzo just looks stoned in that one.
Basic. I know you are, but what am I? Jeez.
Yeah.
I don't know why I like those faces so much. Yeah, so
Oh,
off he goes.
It was actually
Fantastic voyage.
Yeah, it was actually Mouse that was controlling Enzo then, and then Megabyte just demanded that she hand over control to him. And she did, and so now he has a couple of joysticks basically pop up. And he takes control of Enzo, and Enzo leaps through the ceiling.
Leaving like a perfect imprint of his like body, like fingers and hat.
Yep, because this is a cartoon.
Yeah, and that is how the physics works.
Yeah. And Megabyte's like, wait a minute. I can't get codes to the supercomputer, but I can use Enzo to get access to Mainframe's core. So,
of course, because Enzo has access to that. Or is it just because he's already inside the principal office?
That's a little nebulous. I was wondering about that. I'm like, why would this like dipshit 10-year-old have access to Mainframe's core?
Yeah.
Like,
and
I mean,
yeah.
His sister is hot shit, but he ain't shit, you know?
Also, like everything's like voice password protected in the like with Fong giving passwords to everything. So presumably there is a what's that little like kind of medical like table, an infirmary or like a physician's, yeah, like a little like kind of medical room that this whole scene has been taking place in. Presumably that's close enough to the core.
Yeah.
Which again you'd think would have an additional layer of security, but I guess he's just jumping through walls at this point. And that makes me wonder, why can't like Megadump just do you know what I mean? Just like slash through the wall and go after it himself.
I'm gonna have to minimize the Discord window. I can't keep looking at those faces. Stay on target.
At least the core, yeah. At least the core is like behind a gigantic vault door.
Yes, a comically large vault door
with a huge wall, like a gigantic like stone wall. And this giant like words on it that say "Warning, Mainframe Core." And I'm like, oh well, that will stop Enzo, right?
In what sounds like it sounds like Dot's voice, like Dot's voice actress who's saying that.
Oh,
yeah.
Maybe it is.
Maybe it is. Inside Enzo's head, Mouse is all like, "We have an intruder," and Bob's like flying around in his little shitty light cycle.
Oh yeah, does Mouse say something like, "Oh, this wasn't in my contract, honey," when she finds out that it's actually Enzo? Or no, when he's going towards the core or something like that.
Yeah.
It shows that she's not in on it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, so
oh, I just noticed Mouse has like sharp like canines. Not like quite like a vampire, but like animalistic like canines. Cool.
Oh, I noticed.
Oh, you noticed. Okay, I can get behind that. Yeah, and so Bob is inside Enzo's brain to save the day. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, he's all like, take over my friend's brain? I don't think so, or something like that.
Something Bob-like. And he's presumably shooting something at the taxi tank? I think he literally says, "Take over my little friend's brain." I don't think so.
Yeah.
And Hack and Slash are here too, and apparently they have rockets that let them fly, and like missile launcher guns, which
Yeah,
I
no one is worried about firing weaponry inside this kid's brain.
oh no, there's like
Like no
shots
one,
going everywhere.
not
No,
even
not even
Bob.
Especially not Bob.
Uh,
What is he gonna get? Stupider. Um,
I
and
mean,
yeah,
it is possible.
Hack and Slash are like literally shooting missiles, missing shots terribly. Bob's not even like dodging. They like miss all their shots, and then he goes, "Whoa!" as if he just found out he's being tailed. And the way he defeats them, I swear he's done this once or twice already, is as they're following him, he just kind of like pulls up at the last second, right before he's about to hit something, and they kind of go flying against the wall. In this case, he pulls up and they go flying back inside the hover taxi tank.
Yeah.
And they fall apart in pieces.
Yeah.
And they literally go, "How does he do that?" Because that's how often this happens. And
Yeah,
Mouse
and
is
Mouse
there.
is like, and then she lifts herself out of the tank.
That upper body strength just hauls herself with just her arms right out of there.
Oh, yeah.
And then Bob is there, and some cool. I kind of wish like he just looked like this all the time, like rode around on a bike and took care of like crime, and he had this kind of like turquoise kind of metallic like suit. I'm kind of looks cool. Okay,
Yeah.
he does got some biceps now that I see him posing there. And then he's like paralyzed, and there's an energy beam behind him. And Mouse appeared behind him, and she has something presumably similar to Glitch. Maybe it's smaller in scope, but it's her gold ring, and it has that little mouse insignia on it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And she like paralyzed him with it.
It is
And
her
she's
Green
like,
Lantern ring.
yeah, basically. And she's like, maybe later, mister, but not on my mission.
Yeah, and so outside of Enzo's brain, Enzo is lumbering forward toward the door to the core, and he looks over and notices a like handprint identification please panel.
Yeah. And he is like fighting for control of his body. And he's like, I said no. And Megabyte using these like control sticks. He's like, oh, but I say yes. And he moves him
So
forward. Yeah.
so place palm on reader,
Uh-huh.
make choice, wait for door to open.
Oh, there we go. I don't know what the choice is, but
He doesn't have a choice in this
no
case.
fair. You've got control of my brain. That's cheating. And he puts his hand on it. Now here's the alarming part. The door opens after he puts his palm on the palm reader. Why does Enzo have access to Mainframe's core?
Yeah. Right? Why? He shouldn't.
Why would like a
For this very
10-year-old
reason.
irresponsible child who's known for like making problems in Mainframe have access to this door? Like, shouldn't it be like exclusively Fong and Bob? Hell, even if it was Dot, I would be skeptical. But like Enzo? That leads me to believe that anybody could open this door except viruses,
Yeah, anyone but a virus can open this.
right? I like any sprite maybe because they're the only ones with like humanish hands. Binomes don't, I guess. I don't know. That's dumb for me. I don't understand how he was able to open this. And off he goes, and there's like a gigantic bright white light, like, and you see a tear inside. And Fong, instead of being like, "Oh no, Enzo's in danger," Dot and Fong run up as the vault door slams behind him. And Fong is like, "Oh no, Mainframe is doomed." And I feel like if it, like Dot's there, and I would have like kind of like smacked him in the back of the head and been like, "And also, my brother's going to die." Oh yes, but Mainframe is doomed. And I'm like, hold up. Why is Mainframe doomed? That's not. Do you know what I mean? There's a few inconsistencies in this episode?
Because presumably Megabyte will fuck shit up using Enzo. I don't know.
I guess.
What does Megabyte even want to do with the core? Like, what is...
Yeah,
Like-
he's in mainframe. Like, if he destroys the core, he goes too.
Yeah.
And not only that, Enzo doesn't have a Guardian key tool. He can't do anything.
Yeah. It's...
Yeah.
I mean, props to Megabyte for, like, thinking on his feet, so to speak, even though he's in his hover chair. In regards to, like, making the best of a plan not going the way he intended it to.
Fair.
But I still don't really understand what he hopes to accomplish.
Now that I'm rewatching it, it makes even less sense. And so Mouse is kind of like not happy with like whatever's happening, but she goes with it, and she strolls over, still inside Enzo's brain, and goes over and lifts her Green Lantern ring, and only disables the field around Bob's head. And she's like, "Let's see who our mystery hero is," and takes the helmet off. I like how she phases the helmet through his head. She doesn't pull it off of his head. She just like pulls it through his head.
The future is now.
Yeah, the future is now. And Bob's there, and he's like, "Mouse?" And she's like, "Bob? Guardian Bob?"
Yeah.
"Well, I haven't seen you since you gave me the..."
The clap.
I refrained from saying anything. Yeah. And he finishes her sentence, and he's like, "Since I arrested you for hacking into the supercomputer." And I'm like, that is such a 90s, like, hacker thing to say.
Yeah.
Hacking into the supercomputer.
In that, like, hackers or Johnny Mnemonic kind of way.
There you go. Yeah.
Uh,
How much he could only hold, like, what was it, like 60 gigs in his brain? Like, the human brain was only capable of holding? Or was it less than that?
I can't remember. I haven't seen the movie since the 90s.
It's been some years for me. And Mouse kind of looks pouty, and she's like, "I would have made it if it wasn't for you meddling kids." And Bob's like, "Oh, you're good, Mouse, but not that good."
And yeah, so he's like, why are you hacking into a kid's brain? This isn't like you. And she's like, well, no one's gonna get hurt. This is a simple copy and paste job.
Yeah.
And Bob's like, yeah, right. Megabyte's using Enzo to go into the mainframe's core. And she's all like, what? In a very Southern Belle kind of way. And she's like, well.
And he mentions that not only will Enzo be erased, but in the power surge, like, they're in his brain. They'll be erased too.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, shit.
Let's go check this.
Yeah, Bob's not exaggerating here either. He's telling the truth.
Yeah, like, kind of all of their... I like the look, the, like, side eye she gives him.
Oh, yeah.
Watch it, what is it? At the,
I just saw it.
Oh, you saw it? Okay.
Yeah, the side eye. She glances over to, like, the monitor in the hover taxi and back at him.
For the listeners, it's at about roughly the 1750 mark in the episode. But she glances at him and, like, gives him the side eye, and then looks away at the ship's computer that's buzzing or something, and then looks
weird.
back.
Yeah, I have that at 18:45.
Oh.
I have a different copy. I have the director's cut.
Well, blow me down.
Yeah, and she's like, "Oh, you were always good at ruining a party, Guardian." And she, like, smacks her knee and yells, "Yeehaw!" And he's freed from his stasis field.
She's like, well, we do have quite a buildup of radiation. So she's like, yeah, this seems legit. and she calls Meg.
Huh. Some sort of floral design, or it's cool. They had fun with it.
Yeah. And she's all like, "What's I hear about a power surge and toasting some little kid? You know I don't do toast."
And he's
It's a
all like,
stupid
"Oh,
line,
it's."
but it made me
I like
chuckle.
it. And he's like, "What? I'm surprised you doubt my loyalty, Mouse. We've been through so much together. Won't you believe me?" He's like, "Who would you rather believe, Bob or me?" And I'm like, "Really, dude? That's the bluff you're gonna make?"
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, like, well, one, when has Megabyte not been manipulative? But two, like, Bob's sucks at lying, and he's also, even though they're at odds with each other, it's like Batman and Catwoman, right? Like, they
We
like
know
each
they
other, they're attracted to each other, we know they fucked, but she's gonna believe Bob.
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
that's what he does. Why would Bob shrink himself, go into Enzo's brain to lie?
Actually, I think Batman and Catwoman is a great analogy for Bob and Mouse.
Yeah, that's exactly that's exactly what it is. He's a do-gooder with a bunch of gadgets, and she just wants to make some coin and have some mischief, and they're at odds every now and then, but they got
Yeah.
chemistry.
And after Megabyte finishes giving his spiel of "Who would you believe, Bob or me?" she's like, "That's it, I'm pulling the plug," and turns off the device, cutting off Megabyte's control over Enzo. And Enzo's like, "Fuck this place is too hot."
Fuck that shit, I'm out. And he's in this room full of, like, surrounded by white light,
Yeah,
and he zips away cartoonishly.
yeah.
And
Exit
Megabyte's
stage
like,
right.
yeah, and Megabyte's, it is stage right because he's facing us. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And Megabreath is like, no, I was so close. Oh, I just realized he has 3 layers of teeth. Huh. Cool.
And she's like, Mouse is like, "Rule 1, never double cross me." It's funny that we're watching this now because on our other podcast, Too Much Energon,
Some
we
rules.
we reviewed an episode where just the day before we recorded this, we reviewed an episode of Beast Wars where another character was seemingly making up like random rules that were weirdly specific to what's going on.
That they probably won't even remember in a day.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Okay, so
it's like made up statistics.
yeah, we zoom in on her face. She's got some sharp canines. Her eyelashes are red too, much like her hair.
Yep.
Her eyebrows kind of like arch, but like merge with her hairline.
Yep. I dig it.
Yeah, and she's got like a darker purple like eyeshadow like above her eyes.
Oh yes,
I dig it.
yes she does.
I should make her in The Sims. I've been playing The Sims lately. Well, I know who I'm making. I'm making Mouse. Should make Bob and Mouse in The Sims. Why not?
And Megabyte's like, "Rule number 2, I double cross whomever I please."
And she's like, rule number 3, disregard rule number 1 and 2.
And then jumps up onto the dinner table and shoots the CR chamber open. And Dinobot maximizes. Oh wait, wrong show.
This is pretty close. It's weird that we reviewed these 2 episodes back to back.
Yeah. 2 like very.
It's funny that he thinks he can add a rule to Mouse's like set of rules
that directly contradicts her
Yeah.
number first rule. Yeah, it's dumb.
It's and then she's like, rule number 3, Megabyte smells. And he's like, rule number 4, like flowers. Rule number 5, like smelly poopy flowers. Rule number 6, Mouse sucks. And then this is
rule number 7, Bob's fapping right now. Wait, what?
Wait, what? Then he hangs up on her, and this is kind of scary. She like lunges at the camera and like screams like a weird wild animal.
Oh yeah, that was Strange.
and like bares her fangs.
I've been I've been very vocal about my appreciation of Mouse throughout this episode, but I don't know about that animal roar.
It's not like a sexy hiss. It's like, yeah, it's an animal roar.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like it.
Oh, you don't like that, eh?
No.
Yeah, neither did I actually.
So Megabyte hits a
And
button.
Bob's there, and his mouth is like agape. He's like a little bit horrified at that weird reaction.
Horrified, but probably also kind of aroused.
Much like Christopher is at the moment. And there's an automated sexy voice that says, "Warning, compression field destabilizing." Uh-oh.
Yeah. So
Re-enlargement imminent. And I'm like, just say enlargement.
re-enlargement.
And
Yeah,
Mouse
so-
is like, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so she's like, we gotta get out of here.
Yeah, we got nanoseconds before we return to our normal size, sugar.
Care to take the wheel? Or something like that, basically.
Yeah.
She offers Bob control.
And they buckle up.
They buckle up. The ship takes off.
This is hilarious. Point out right here, they are leaving the like the drone bike thing that Bob brought in there, and that generator control device, the viral like takeover device, in his brain.
They destroy the hover bike.
Do they?
They shoot a laser at it.
It like vaporizes it.
Yeah.
Okay, good call. And then they take the virus thing with them. I didn't catch that the first time.
Neither did I. I only just saw it just now.
Okay, they covered their bases. Oh, and then she's kind of like holding a handle like above her head, and you can see her arm flexing.
Yeah,
Not bad.
You get a nice shot of her biceps here.
Yeah,
she's got this like really like kind of sexy like satisfied look on her face.
Okay, we get it.
I'm gonna stop.
The funny thing is, at least you're articulating it well enough. Your interest in her and explaining the scene. I like re-listened to that episode where hexadecimal is introduced, and I just revisit the same things. I talk about her too much. It's just a lot of wasted air of me just talking about like how much of a hot dominatrix hexadecimal is.
Fair.
So you'll never be that bad, because I feel like that was like 10-15 minutes of me ranting about her. So you're allowed much more time to rant about Mouse, is what I'm saying.
All right.
And also, she's just cool.
Yeah.
She's just cool, man. I completely forgot Hack and Slash were in there with them.
I'm gonna take a screenshot
in pieces
of this exact moment.
As they're zipping, completely forgot Hack and Slash were in pieces. It's the craft that Bob, Hack and Slash, and Mouse are in slowly starts to like double in size like every couple of seconds, and then Enzo kind of like starts to begin a sneeze, and then it does this. This is actually kind of cool editing. He kind of like leans back, and Enzo sneezes, and it enlarges back to, it's like 20 feet tall. This is a gigantic craft, right? Like many, many, many times the size of Enzo. And as he sneezes, it enlarges like as it's exiting his nose. And it kind of like rewinds and from different camera angles plays the same effect as this gigantic tank like slams onto the ground in the supercomputer.
Yeah.
And
the principal office.
I was like, the principal office. And I was like, oh, well, that's convenient. Wouldn't it have been weird if he didn't sneeze and his head just exploded?
Oh, you know what? You're right. Bob's uniform that he's wearing here is pretty dope.
I just want to see him in that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's way cooler than his regular getup.
Yeah, I love this. Yeah, I just want to see him wear that. Like that be his Guardian outfit. But a ramp comes down out of the back of the tank. Seems way bigger than it was before. And Bob is there posing like a boss, and Mouse is there with her arms crossed.
Yeah.
And they look at each other like satisfied. And
And Enzo's like, "Yeah, Bob, you saved my brain."
yeah, you saved my hey, big boss, you saved my brain. Yeah, and he's like, "Hey, we did it!" And the camera zooms in with Dot with her like hands on her hips, scowling like an angry lady.
Oh, she jealous.
Oh, she gelling, and she's like, "Hey, Bob, who's that girl?" Like very like accusatory,
Yeah. Which
which
like
makes me think that Bob and Dot have something else going on that they haven't made public yet.
yeah, I was kind of wondering. I'm like, are they actually together
I think they're on the D-Lo.
on the DL?
Yeah. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, so Bob's
Yeah.
hey, I'd like you to meet Mouse. Mouse, this is Dot. Mouse. And he
Mouse.
looks around
And
and
it goes in like a POV, like first person from him as he scans the hover tank, and Hack and Slash are in there, and she's just gone, like Batman.
I was just gonna say she Batmaned out of there.
Yeah.
And
And
he's
he's like
like,
nervous laughing, and he's like, same old Mouse.
and coughs a couple times.
And looks nervous. And like, holy shit, the look that Dot gives him. I've never seen such a disapproving, angry, like jealous face from her.
Yeah.
And the gigantic doors to the principal office slam, like they're like 40 feet tall, right? Like they look like they're made of gold or brass. They slam shut, and there's like Mouse's insignia on the door.
Yeah.
So she pulled a fast one.
And
And Enzo's like, "What are we gonna do with these losers?" And he points at Hack and Slash, who are in pieces in the taxi. And they're like, "We're sorry." Fong
And
does this trippy ass head thing where he like stretches his neck so he can be head face to face with Bob.
yeah. And we're at the Silicon Tour, and Megabyte is still in his hover chair, and he's all like, "I said send them in." And we hear some very like micro sounding voices of Hack and or Slash.
And they're like, "We're down here, boss." Yeah. And they're like tiny. So presumably they shrunk them again temporarily so they could send them back to Megabyte, so they're useless just a little bit longer.
Yeah. Slightly more useless than they otherwise normally are.
Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah, that was episode
That's a
10.
wrap.
That's a wrap fact.
Mm-hmm.
That was episode 10 of Reboot, The Great Brain Robbery. We came up with the idea of rating each episode at the end of each podcast on the alphanumeric scale.
That's right.
Which goes from, what did we decide?
Yeah. So there's four. There's four on the scale.
Yes.
And the bottom is this is bad, really bad.
Yeah. And yeah, so those are like the bottom of the barrel, like basically in the belly of the beast type episodes.
Yeah.
I don't think so, which is the episodes that aren't that great.
They're not terrible, but they don't do it for us.
Yeah. That was easy enough, which are the episodes that are halfway decent to, pretty good. And alphanumeric, which is the highest tier, and though that honor is reserved for the best of the best.
The Crimson Binomes of the series.
If you will, yes. So, Cal, on that scale, what do you rate in the Great Brain? I almost said in the belly of the beast again. The Great Brain Robbery.
Oh, that was easy enough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what you're going with.
that's what I'm going with.
I think I'll agree.
The interaction with Bob and Mouse is like kind of what saved it. Otherwise, I would have gone longer. Yeah, or lower. I mean.
I would agree. I like the yeah, I'm kind of on the fence on this one actually.
Yeah,
This is
one
either
little
going to
sidebar on a sidebar. Notice that even though they were shrunk by different means and at different times, Bob like re-enlarged at the exact same time Mouse did, and the tank.
Good point.
Technically, he should have enlarged a little bit later or sooner, unless they just happened to re-enlarge at the same time. But hey, what do I know?
This is. I'm going to give this. I'm going to give this a very low. That was easy enough. So it's kind
What's the
of.
one underneath that?
I don't think so.
So you don't think it's an I don't think so?
Not quite. It's
Okay.
it's kind of on the it's on the cusp, like it's on the border between the two. But I'm giving it the slight edge because Mouse is hot.
Okay, fair enough. Understandable, sir. By the way,
Yeah.
when asking like the three lower, like this is bad, really bad, and what's the one above
I don't
that?
think so.
I don't think so, and that was easy enough. Those are like common Bob phrases.
Yeah.
Yeah, and alphanumeric is it's the name of the show, but also the most common utterance from Enzo on the show.
Yeah, so I'm kind of knocking the episode 1 because it's basically just Fantastic Voyage. Like,
yeah.
I don't really get what Megabyte's plan was in sending Enzo into the core.
Just to kill him for shits and gigs? I don't know.
Yeah. Why would Enzo have access to the core?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some weird plot holes. Gigantic door warning with a palm scanner and a 10-year-old can open it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So but I like the little viral binome spies. Big
That
fan
was
of
pretty great.
Big fan of Mouse. I really like her interactions with Bob, as you said, like kind of saved it for you with this episode.
Yeah.
And
it makes Bob more interesting too. Talking about his life before mainframe.
Yeah.
And he's kind of dull, so I'll take anything that can make Bob more interesting, right?
Slightly more interesting than just like dipshit hero man.
Yeah, dipshit kind of like hero man here to save day, not actually stop crime, just play games.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a very unenthusiastic. That was easy enough. It's just barely above. I don't think so.
Yeah.
So, that has been Alphanumeric. We will be back next week with my full stop favorite episode of season 1, episode 11, Talent Night.
Oh shit, I remember this one.
I remember this one too. I've actually I like this episode so much. I actually have already watched it again recently. Like I watched it a couple of weeks ago, not even for the podcast, just
This
to watch
is going to
it.
be a good one.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about this episode, so I look forward to getting into that one. Best way to support the show, if you're listening to this on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star rating. Helps us out with discoverability. Check out our website, alphanumericpodcast.ca. You'll find embedded players of all the episodes of this show and social media links. And also check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/alphanumeric podcast. And yeah, I have been one of your hosts, Christopher Siege.
I am your other host, NeoCal.
And until next week, game over.
See you next time, sugar.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
What?